Hi everyone, welcome back to Ask Amy. I have a question today from Brenda. And Brenda says, "Hi Dr. Amy, I'm someone who struggled with emetophobia, a fear of nausea and having it escalating to vomiting, especially in public. I've had this all my life. As an adult, when I had kids, it had gotten severe and has led to agoraphobia, so I avoid any place I may feel trapped or find it hard to escape. Since my main fear symptom when it comes to anxiety, nervousness, and anticipatory anxiety is nausea, I tend to avoid everything that will put me in settings that provokes that response. It has led to a life of avoidance, unhappiness, and misery. Since learning about the principles, I can see that it is all thought, but I have such a hard time with the sensations and allowing them to be there because I do fear not only the sensations, but of what will happen. I know, more and more thought." Exactly. "It feels like there is so much to do and to notice. It doesn't seem like I will ever be able to get past this. I've skipped my son's high school graduation and many other important events in the past due to this, and I want to be able to visit him at university and attend his graduation. This is my sticking point. I feel like this understanding has helped me so much in other areas, but this one will not budge at all, and it's the biggest one." So first, Brenda, I'm sorry that you're feeling so stuck in this, and what you say about this understanding having helped a lot of other places, but not this one, which also happens to be the biggest one, makes a lot of sense. It's very, very common, very typical. It's like this one that feels big, feels so big because it feels different and special, and it's harder. It's no different. It's no more special. It doesn't have any special properties that anything else you've seen through has. So it isn't actually different. And I really want you to kind of sit with that, like let that be there. You don't have to believe it, but put it out there as like, wow, this is absolutely no different than any other fear or issue or habit or concern that anyone else has. And it's absolutely no different than any other fear or issue or thought or concern that you've ever had. The sensations around this, no different. Now they feel different, it appears different. I get that totally. But again, that's kind of what makes this be like that one holdout. And people have a holdout, right? We have a thing that's like, oh, this is different. This is so big. I can't imagine this ever going away. And what do you know? It takes a little longer. It's harder for us to kind of let ourselves relax and see that it's just like everything else. So just know that piece of what you said, totally normal, totally common. And it doesn't say a thing about your ability to actually see through this and have some change here. Nothing at all. It says nothing about the possibility of that for you, the ability of that for you. All your question and what you're going through is showing is that you have more thinking around this than other things. That's it. It's no more real. It's no more scary. It's just a lot of thinking that looks really real to you. And that's, again, what we're all up against all the time, no matter what it is, no matter what our issue is. So you mentioned in here, and I can tell from what you say that you have a nice sort of intellectual understanding, right? Like, I know this is thought. I know it's my mind doing that. But but it's like, that's fine. That's great. But do you know, Brenda? Do you know, with a capital K, do you actually really deeply know that you aren't afraid of vomiting? You aren't afraid of nausea. You aren't afraid of places your mind is creating something on repeat, and apparently has for a long time, and you're afraid of that. So this has nothing to do, no, again, I know we can take it out in the world and see it there, but this has nothing to do with vomiting. It has nothing to do with nausea. It has nothing to do with having agoraphobia or anxiety or any of that. It's that there's some feelings that are totally fine and some thinking that comes in around those feelings that really scares you and looks really, really real and looks really personal and has this whole story built around it about what would happen or how horrible it would be, or just even how much fear you have about vomiting in particular. And I really want you to see, because again, there's nothing missing here. There's nothing like hidden. There's no exception at all. The only thing going on, Brenda, is that it looks like vomiting is the thing, and you've struggled with this your whole life, as you say, which is, I feel tense just saying those words, and I don't even feel them or believe them. But it's like that has that bit around it, right? Like, oh, it's about nausea and vomiting and what if and my whole life and all of that. And what it really is, Brenda, is this blip in your head. Blip. When these thoughts come through and these feelings come through, it's like we're watching a movie where you have to kind of, advance the screens. Next screen, and maybe all your screens are the same, or a lot of your screens are the same. This picture, that story, this picture, that story, these feelings, but it's all happening in here. So you know this on some level, but see if you can let it go deeper. You don't have to take it deeper. I'm not putting this on you at all. In fact, I don't want you to try to think about it more and see anything more. Just the opposite. It's almost like it's up here. It still looks so real. And the more you let yourself relax, the more it's going to drop down and become something that you start to know. Maybe just with a small K at first, and then maybe eventually with a capital K, that you just start to know as a truth. It's like when people say all the time that, oh my gosh, I'm afraid of flying, and they have a flight coming up and they're freaked out and panicked about flying. It's like, you're not afraid of flying. You're sitting here on the ground right now having a panic attack. You're afraid of a thought. You see that, right? I mean, and it's like on some level, duh, of course, but really let that in. Let that sink deeper too. This has nothing to do with any of the stuff that your mind's telling you it has to do with. And that's important, Brenda. That's so important to see, because the more you can see that, the more simple it gets. When you can say, wow, I'm afraid of a thought that looks real. And by the way, we all are. That's the only thing any of us are ever afraid of, is a thought that looks real, a feeling that has a thought attached to it that feels real, right? That's it. When you can at least start to see it more like that, rather than and then this and that and that and that, oh my gosh, it starts to massively simplify, and you're so much closer at that point. You're seeing it clearly. You're seeing it your fear a lot more accurately at that point, and it's infinitely simpler. You can feel how that keeps moving you closer. So that's what I want you to do, is chop off the whole end of this, all the details, all the story, all the how long, all the what ifs, and just sit in the, oh, my mind gives me a picture and some words and a feeling maybe, and that's what I freak out about just habitually. Now, here's the thing, Brenda. There's no way you've had children and lived a life and all of this with this being a real obstacle. Now, I hear you that it has held you back in life, and I get that. So I'm not saying that at all. And I'm not saying that, it totally has held you back in some ways. But I also just want you to kind of get a feel for how this isn't you. You're the one whose wisdom and common sense and resilience and all of that, your true nature, got you to have children and be a great mom and be in life so much. So even though you missed your son's graduation and you're keeping your life small, you also have been in life a lot. This fear thing that feels so big and daunting, it hasn't held you back nearly as much. We could look, right? We could see all kinds of areas where you haven't been held back. You don't see those because that's not what your mind's talking about all the time. But there have been lots of ways you've lived life, right? So I say that only not to argue with the fact that you're being held back, because I get that you are, but just for you to see, look at this is how the machine in our head talks and works. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of vomiting. I'm afraid of feeling nausea. I'm afraid of places because I might see somebody throw up, whatever, like a whole story. That's just how a mind would present it, right? And then it's all about that and that content and that sticky story, and it's holding me back so much, and it has all this power over me and everything. But again, see if you can keep seeing you can't be that afraid of it, because despite all that, you have done things all the time. You're living a life all the time, right? but your mind won't let you see that. So it's more that your mind just gets in this loop where it tells you how horrible your life is and how small your life has gotten. Again, I'm not saying that it hasn't, but I want you to see it's not you, Brenda, that has all these fears. Sit with that one. It's not you, Brenda. You, Brenda, are the Brenda that, you know, is sitting on Facebook and typing questions and looking into things and has been helped in so many other ways. Your mind keeps going back to this one story, and you're just afraid of that one story. It's a very familiar story for you. And so it looks very scary, and that's it. It's a story. The thing you mentioned about the sensations, see, I have such a hard time with the sensations and allowing them to be there, because I do fear not only the sensations, but of what will happen. So the thing is about a sensation, like let's say a sensation of nausea or being in an enclosed place or anything, like a sensation is just energy. You're full of sensations right now. You have no problem with sensations. Sensations, like again, I'm talking about physical feelings, stuff happening in our bodies. We live in this stuff. Like we swim in it all day, every day, from the minute we're born to the minute we die. So I just want you to see that piece of it. You're not afraid of physical sensations. Not at all. Not even ones that come along with the stomach being upset or any of that. You deal with that all the time. And you allude to this. I know you see this, so I really want to pull it out for you. What you're afraid of, what's the shadow on the wall that has you really freaked out, that truly is a shadow, is how your mind comes in and says, oh, there it is, you can't handle that. What if this happens? There's your fear of vomiting, which you probably haven't vomited or seen anyone vomit in a very long time, but that still looks like the thing. So that's the thinking. That's not a sensation. You have no problem with sensations. So again, I don't say that to argue, but I really want to unpack this because I can see, and you're no different than anyone, Brenda. Our minds kind of give us what the problem is as far as our mind sees it. So our mind will say, oh, you have this phobia, you have that phobia, you have this, you have that. You don't have to listen to all that. You're afraid of sensations. You can't sit with the sensation. Baloney. You sit with the sensations all the time. It's just this little machine in your head that just talks about all of this being scary that has you rattled, and that feels really true. And what if it's just not? What if you just have a mind that's just on repeat? I mean, you said it's been here your whole life, so of course it is, right? It's just on repeat, telling you the same fears, but you don't have those fears. So see if you can feel into that a little bit, Brenda. And again, please don't hear it as that I'm denying your experience or saying, you know, I know that you feel the stuff you say you feel, no question. And I know that your life in specific ways is much smaller than you want it to be, no question. And I want it to be bigger for you too, because you should be out going to your kids' graduation and doing all that stuff. But just see that the way your mind gives you this issue and then tells you what you should do, you should be able to sit with sensations better, you should do this, you should do that. You don't have to listen to all that. You know, it's so much simpler than how it appears in your head. And I think as it starts to look simpler and simpler, and a lot of those details are not part of the story anymore, you're going to see, wow, this is a thought. This is a shadow on the wall that's been running my life. And I can see that thought in a new light, to where it doesn't have to be like that anymore. So sit with this, see what it begins to shake loose or open up for you, and please let me know. And I would love to have you in the school, because there's so many people in the Little School of Big Change with this phobia in particular. I think I've actually done an Ask Amy on this particular phobia before, but so many others, so many things, and it's all the same. All the same. We're all afraid of our own thinking, and then our thinking goes 10 steps down the line and says we're afraid of all this stuff out in the world, and it just doesn't work that way. So I would love to have you in the Little School of Big Change, really diving into this and letting me walk you through it and exploring it for 6 weeks. And it does start soon. September 23rd is the next class. So check that out. And for everyone listening, it really, I mean, I love to answer your questions here, but I can only go so deep. And that experience is such a container for really deeply coming to see what we already kind of know, or else you wouldn't be sending me a question. So yes, I hope to see you there. And thank you so much, Brenda, for sending this question. And for everyone listening, I hope it's been helpful for all of you. Have a great day, and I will see you next Monday.